Hey folks, Tom Rayner here. I am so incredibly enthused that Belay is the founding sponsor of the Church Answers podcast. We've always had a great relationship with Belay, and now we have the opportunity to work with them even more closely in this brand new Church Answers podcast. Now, I'm going to say a few things about Belay, but I want you to hear this personally from me, from Tom Rayner. I have used Belay for many, many years. In fact, I even used them before they were called Belay. I'm not going to give you the other name of their company before then. And what I mean is we have found these type of workers to be incredibly effective, incredibly relational, and Belay takes care of everything. You need an executive assistant, and they'll provide it for you. You need a bookkeeper, they'll provide it. They become a member of your team in many ways, but Belay is doing all of the heavy lifting. You know, many of you leaders, there's a moment in your personal and professional life where you realize that you may be in your own way. You know you need help. Let Belay come in. Delegating it to them, it may seem intimidating, especially if you don't know how they can do so. You don't have to worry about reading every email, scheduling every call, responding to every request. You have more time, more energy to work on the things that move the business forward, and you can achieve your big goals both personally and professionally. So I want to just say with a loud acclamation, welcome, Belay. And let me just encourage you. You've got to get this resource. You've got to get this resource. It's free. And it's called Delegate to Elevate. You pastors and leaders and business leaders, incredible resource to talk about how to do delegation. Here's how you get it. It's in the show notes, but belaysolutions.com/Tom Rayner, ThomRainer. So start trusting your team more. Stop diluting your efforts. Empower yourself to courageously focus on your strengths and delegate your weaknesses. In no time, you'll do what you're supposed to do. Lead your church effectively, or if you're in a business, growing your business. Once again, we welcome Belay as the founding sponsor. And once again, get that downloadable at belaysolutions.com/Tom Rayner. Welcome to the Church Answers podcast. This is week 2 of the podcast. If you listen to week 1, we had 3 releases, really short, each of them about 10 minutes. You can binge on them. You can listen to one. You can listen to all 3. Go back and listen to 1, 2, and 3. Once again, give us a rating and review on your favorite podcast app, or subscribe or like at YouTube if you're watching us. We want to get the word out about the Church Answers podcast. Now, that begs a question. If it's the Church Answers podcast, are we taking questions? Well, the answer is yes. I won't always do this in a Q&A format, but I will sometime. It'll be obvious. And in the first 3, I didn't have a question, but now in number 4, I do. Now, just as a reminder, for those of you who have never listened to the Church Answers podcast, we release 3 at a time. And so you have the opportunity to binge on those 3 brief podcasts right at 10 minutes, the total of all 3 of them. We just don't want to go over that. It's just nuggets that we give to you. And so now, during this week, we're releasing 4, 5, and 6. This one is going to come in the form of a question. Tom, actually it wasn't Tom. It was posted at Church Answer Central, where we have 1,800 leaders who are constantly asking questions. By the way, you need to subscribe to Church Answers and become a member of it. If nothing else, there are all kinds of benefits, but if nothing else, just to be in that group of just under 2,000 active church leaders, where they're continuously asking questions and the community answers them. We, so-called subject matter experts, will ask them. I mean, you think about it, 24/7, you can get a question answered. So just go to the link below to become a member. It's only $9.97 a month. So come on and be a part of Church Answers community and be a member at Church Answers. Okay, question. Is there a particular way? Is there an effective way to prepare sermons where you will have time to do them? What is the most effective way to have time to prepare sermons? Well, first of all, there is not a single answer, obviously. So that is going to be clear. Different pastors do it different ways. So don't think I'm coming formulaic, and don't think I'm coming silver bullet with the answer. But for those of you who may be struggling with, I just don't have time to prepare my sermons. I start it and then I get interrupted. Emergency takes place, and the list goes on and on. Well, here's some things that I will say. I can't do anything about emergencies in this presentation. That's just part of pastoral life. But most of the time, you can get through sermon preparation without those interruptions. The emergencies will be the exception rather than the rule. And I'm talking about true emergencies. And I hope you have someone, whether they are volunteer or part of your paid staff, that can help discern when that comes in. So they make the choice on whether or not they interrupt you in your sermon preparation. So what is the most effective way to prepare sermons? Again, I got to be a little careful. I wish I'd almost put a parenthetical comment and make it too long. I'm not going to do it. The most effective way to have time to prepare sermons, as some leaders told us. These were some of the best responses that we had. Okay. First on this is just pray for your preparation. I'm not talking about pray for your sermon, pray for your preparation. I have a prayer app that I absolutely love. It is called Echo Prayer. There are a lot of good prayer apps out there, so I don't know if it's better than another one. I think the one I have is free. And I go through my prayer journal every single day. And if I were a pastor, I would put in my prayer time just a little note, pray for the preparation of the sermon. And that would mean that you're praying that God will give you his spirit as you prepare the sermon, but it also means that he would give you time to do so. So I'd never thought about that when a pastor told us, okay, well, several pastors did. I pray for the preparation of the sermon. Secondly, put your sermon preparation time on your calendar. What gets calendared gets done. If you don't put it on your calendar and you try to work it around everything else, then you will be in trouble. A caveat to that is give yourself a 20 to 30% cushion on what you think you will need, because most people run out of time when they even have it calendared. So put it on your calendar. It is a meeting with you and God. It is a legit meeting, and it should be on your calendar. So I don't know how much time you take to prepare a sermon. Let's say it's typical is 10 to 15 hours. Let's just do the 15 hours. Obviously, 15 hours at one time may be burdensome for people, but you could do 5 3-hour slots on your calendar. You could do 3 5-hour slots. There are different ways that you can do it. And if it's 10 hours, it becomes even more effective to do so because you don't need that many calendar spots. If you say you don't have room on your calendar to do that, well, then you don't have time to do sermons, and you got to make some changes at that. Your sermon time is one of the most important things that you need to be doing, and it needs to be one of the highest priorities. And if it's going to be a high priority, you need to put it on your calendar. Some pastors prefer to do it all at one time. Some prefer to break it up into different parts. Whichever, make certain it's on the calendar. Just a kind of a side note to that. It would be good if you took time away from your church, maybe a full day, to think through a sermon series, if you preach in sermon series, and get those lined up even before you start your preparation. So many pastors, I know, I can think of several who take a year. You may say, I don't want to plan my sermons for a year. That's okay. But they'll go off for 2 days, 3 days maybe, and they'll plan their sermon calendar for a year. That does not mean they're inflexible. If God leads them to make a change, they'll make a change. But that's what they do. But I'm not advocating that. I am simply advocating that you put it on your calendar and you make sure that you give that a priority. There will be a few interruptions, but there should be very few. It should be as if you are meeting with someone. You are, that's a capital S, someone. You are meeting with someone, and you would not want to be interrupted in your meeting with that person. So put it on your calendar, make it a regular part of your rhythm each week, even though you may need to make changes. Go on and calendar it so you don't book yourself full of appointments. Work your hospital visits around it, work your pastoral visits around it. Again, crises and emergencies will occur. You can deal with that when you deal with it. But for now, put it on calendar. Last, find a place where you can be alone doing your sermon. And that means for many of you pastors, it is not best to do it in your office at your church. You may want to stay in the church, and you may want to find a classroom or somewhere where you can just go off and be alone. You may want to stay at home. I do all my podcasts. In fact, I do everything at home because Church Answers is a virtual company. But you might want to go home to do this, especially if you don't have small children in the house. But whatever, find a place that is your sermon preparation time, a place where you are not tempted to interruptions, a place where you can put your phone on silent. And it's a place where you're not tempted to interrupt it by checking emails. It is a place that says, I am going to do this sermon. Okay? 3 things. Pray for your preparation, put it on your calendar, and find a place that is your sermon preparation time. All right. As always, thank you for being a part of the Church Answers podcast. Continue to give us those ratings and reviews and likes and subscriptions at YouTube. And we'll see you in episode 5 and 6, which have already been downloaded. You can even watch them or hear them now. See you later. Tom Rayner back with you. Before we leave this podcast, to just thank again Belay for being the founding sponsor of the Church Answers podcast. Hear me very well. I said it at the beginning. I'm going to say it at the end. We have used Belay at Church Answers for several years. We've had incredible workers that they have sent us, and Belay takes care of everything. They take care of paying them. They take care of all of the what would be paperwork now, e-work. They take care of it all, and you are free to do the things that you need to be doing as a pastor, as a business leader. So go to Belay. Go to belaysolutions.com and do this. Go to belaysolutions.com/Tom Rayner. That's THOMRAINER. When you go to Tom Rayner, don't forget the H in Tom. And get this download. It is incredible. Delegate to elevate. I can just promise you with this download, you'll get new insights of how to free yourself to do the things you love to do the most. Thank you, Belay. Thank you for being who you are. Go to that download, belaysolutions.com/Tom Rayner, THOMRAINER.